So I think most people now have heard something about expected goals. It's more and more popular. You see it on Football's Labbet. You see it often reported after the matches. And I think one of the first things I wanted to do when I talked to the players was tell them how they can use expected goals to become better players. Okay. So I think I've got one picture here, which I really think sums up what is expected goals. And basically, expected goals is the probability of you scoring from different points around the penalty area. And I like to think about it in terms of these circles. So what I've shown here is a 30% circle, a 15% circle, and a 7% circle. And these are the chances of scoring from shots in these different areas. Any shot that comes inside this 30% ring, there is basically a more than 30% chance of scoring from there. And even this is a surprise, because I think most people see a shot from here.
Yeah, there's a clear chance, 100% goal.
Yeah, it should be 100% goal. Feldman had a header from there. Feldman's header was around a 10% chance, actually, if you look at this in terms of expected goals. So that was in the match against Häcken. And every shot that you see, we can assign one of these probabilities to here. This is the 15% ring, this is the 7% ring. And what I think is important for the players to think about is, where are their chances coming from? What quality of chances are they generating? What ring are they getting inside? So I'd like to think that they should have a picture in their head of these different rings and trying to get into these percentage chances. And Imad Khalili has actually said that he actually thinks in percentages. So they talk about it after the match. You know, that was a percentage chance, that was that percentage chance, and so on. And so it's a really good way of them discussing the probability they should have scored from various things, or when they should have shot, or when they should have passed. So if you take two comparable strikers, the finishing skills is very, very small difference between them. There's a sort of marginal difference. The way we evaluate strikers, and the most important way to evaluate strikers, is how often they get in the right scoring positions. How often do they get those chances to score goals? Whether the ball goes in or not has a large factor of randomness in it. The goalkeeper might go in the right direction, the ball might bounce just slightly wrongly off your foot. We all know that from playing amateur football. Yeah. There's all these kind of random factors that come into the thing. What a good striker does is repeatedly get into the correct position where they can get into these 30% circles and these 15% circles. And that's what's repeatable over matches.
Yeah, you had an example as well when Kjartansson had a finish against Häcken away as well, when he was really close to goal, but it was not a high percent chance, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the important things about these rings. You see that right down in this corner of the ring, this is a 1% chance, somewhere around there. So his when we looked at the statistics afterwards, he shot a 1% chance.
So that's equal to a shot from here?
Yeah, basically a shot from here and a shot per here is equal, because you've really got a very small angle which you can see the goal. If you think about the angle you can see the goal from out here is very small. The angle you can see the goal mouth from here is very small as well. And you can understand why Nico is shouting at him afterwards, because Nico was standing in a 50% chance position. Yeah. If the pass had got to him, we don't know if that's going to happen, then he very likely would have scored that one.
Okay, so let's move on here.
Yeah, so I think one of the questions that comes up immediately is like, how do I know that? Because remember, I'm a mathematician. I'm not a football expert from the beginning.
No.
But how have I established these rings? This isn't something I've just picked up myself. This is actually based on statistics. And I take this example, which I like a lot. This is from a season of Barcelona's play.
Yeah, I have to, the first question, we spoke about this earlier. You don't care about the quality of the finish that much. It's only about the positioning, because I mean, I can see that if like take two great Milan players, if Franco Baresi is in one position and you have Pippo Inzaghi in the same position, obviously Pippo Inzaghi is going to score more goals from that position, but you say it's more about positioning than the quality of the finish.
Exactly. So it is much more about the positioning than the quality of the finish. What you see repeatable over lots and lots of matches is it's the players that get in the best positions to shoot that score the most goals. There is, of course, finishing skills. There's no doubt about that. But that's actually a much smaller factor than actually getting into the right place. And so you can see it very clearly. So here we have three of the greatest attacking players in the world. This is a season where Neymar was still playing for Barcelona, and we have Messi, we have Neymar, and we have Suarez, and these are all of the chances that they've generated. Each dot is proportional to the chance that they would have scored from this point. The black circles, they show whether they scored a goal. So a black circle is a goal. And what you see here, with the exception of just 2 shots, all of Barcelona's goals in La Liga that season came from within these circles that I just showed on the last picture. And so we know that this works, not because I say it works, but because statistically, over lots and lots of seasons of football, we've looked at this stuff and we've found that this model predicts whether teams are going to score or not.
And I know your next slide is from Real Madrid, the same season, and obviously we've just seen in the Champions League final where Gareth Bale scored a goal. Very, very nice goal, I have to say, but you can also see that he shoots a lot from that position, but
he's not always successful.
No, so you see it in the highlight reel, but you don't see it statistically that you score from that positioning. So can you take us through, especially Cristiano Ronaldo and his finishing?
Yeah, we see that. We see that all the time. And one thing that's really misleading is all the clips you see on Twitter, on Facebook, and people are sharing these long-distance goals, amazing shots into the top corner. But even Cristiano Ronaldo, he scores from outside the box 1 in 30 shots. So he takes 30 shots, 29 of them are misses. They don't go up on YouTube. They're only the ones that are goals go up on YouTube. And in this example, this is pretty much right, that he's scored twice from these long distance shots and he's taken about 60 chances from outside the box. Cristiano Ronaldo is actually a brilliant striker because he gets right into the penalty area and scores lots of goals from there. So like a lot of strikers, his skill is actually inside the penalty area rather than from distance. Time after time, season after season, he's in the box and taking those chances and converting them. He gets into the right position and he scores those goals from distance. Bale is interesting because he has, I mean, you know, if you score in a Champions League final, you can't take that away from someone as luck. He's interesting. He does manage to convert a few more of these, but maybe his success rate is something like 1 in 20, 1 in 25, compared to a top-level striker, which is 1 in 30 from that type of distance. And we talked earlier about Bale's Champions League final goal against Liverpool.
Exactly.
Long distance shot from out here, very successful. Well, he scored that particular one, and I don't want to take anything away from him from scoring that. But Bale, he might only score 1 in 25 of those types of long distance shots. So he makes a lot of shots as well, and that's what all these yellow dots are here.
And this is what you try to teach the players and try to get the players to speak about. And I know Muyo is one of the players who's really interested in this. So can you show us how he's working with this?
I think just going back to this slide earlier with the percentages, I think when I showed this to Moyo, his point was, well, that's you can say that, David, but the thing is, because he said, well, look, this is where Vida's meant to be. This is where Nico's meant to be. I'm out here. I'm playing out on the wing. What can I learn from this diagram? When should I shoot? And the point we took up is that if he shoots from out here, then he's shooting from a 1% chance. If he shoots from here, it's a 7% chance. So he can actually have a 7 times greater chance of scoring each of his goals if he gets nearer and nearer to this point. And you can actually see this very clearly in how he's developed from the end of last season up to this current season. So this is the statistical tool that we use to evaluate these things. And these are his last 12 games of the 2018 season. And he's made quite a lot of these, like trying to be Gareth Bale attempts here from outside the box. And he wasn't scoring them. He's got a few good closer attempts, and unfortunately he didn't score from them. But what we've got to think, well, what happened coming into this season where he's been very successful is not only that he scored goals, but he's actually coming in and producing much, much better quality chances. A couple of long distance things here, but coming much closer into the centre, to the D on the penalty area, coming right into the box, even getting those 15, 30% chances. The penalties, of course, they're 75% chance. Yeah. But he's produced a lot better quality chances as well as scoring more goals, and overall is performing much better as a striker.
And we have an example of that as well.
Yeah, I thought this was a lovely example. And what you have in this situation, so this was actually his first goal of the season against El Suore. I'll show the goal first, then I can go through it step by step. So here he gets the ball, and at this point, he's got a less than 1% chance of
In
scoring.
his head, he's got a 100% chance of
I'm
scoring
sure.
because everybody knows Muyo, he sees the goal and he wants to score. That's all he thinks about right now.
Okay, well
But
in his head he's got a 100% chance of scoring. Just now he's got a 1% chance of scoring.
So that's what you're teaching him, that right now that's only 1%, he needs to move forward.
Well, exactly. So when he receives the ball, this is less than 1% chance of scoring, as you say. And what you can actually see is if you're thinking in terms of these rings, you can see him moving forward. Now it's a 2% chance, now it's a 3% chance, it's a 4% chance. And exactly when he shoots, I think this is really nice because he's landed pretty much on the 7% line I've shown you.
Yeah.
So when he shoots the ball from there, he has a 7% chance of scoring, and bang, that one's in and it's a goal. So it's a really nice example of how just moving forward, those extra steps can take you into the goal. And I think what's important to emphasize, because it's not just his own, well, of course, he's scored the goal and he's taken the shot, but it's actually very important to look at the movement of the players around him. And this was Vida's first game for Hammarby.
Yeah, first competitive, yeah.
And he is moving in a very nice way. You see, at this point, there's a defender standing there, and Vida takes the defender out. The defender has to follow Vida, runs out in this direction, which opens up the space that Moyo can go into.
And
the
about
zones he moves
now,
through.
Alex moves in this direction, so this player can't put pressure on him either.
Exactly. So Alex has got the second defender, so he's got control of him. And actually, Alex has opened up a very nice space in front of himself. And when we went through this clip with the players afterwards, there was quite an interesting debate there between Alex, who still thought that Moyo should have passed to him, even though he'd scored a goal. If he gets the pass, then maybe he has like a 10-15% chance. So he's in a better scoring position than Tankovic is. But what you've got to think about is, well, what's the probability that he makes the pass to him?
Exactly. So if you have Muyo in a 7% chance of scoring, and you have Alex who can get in a 15% chance of scoring, but then you have to calculate the risk of the pass going wrong, and then you have maybe not a 15% chance of Alex scoring because the pass itself has a risk in it. How do you calculate these things, and is it necessary to calculate it, or is it just something that you want the players to speak about? So
yeah, I think it's exactly the last part of it. And when I showed this clip to them, we had exactly that discussion. Alex was still saying you should have passed me, even though they'd scored. Even though they'd scored. And to some reason, he might. There, it's a kind of marginal case, I think, if he should have passed or shot from that particular position. But that's exactly what we want to have. We want to have a discussion about percentage chances. So you can say, well, you shouldn't have taken that chance because you could have got the ball to me. And it becomes a much more scientific discussion between the players, so a much more reasoned discussion instead of an emotional discussion. And that's the whole point of this. You can use these rings to discuss with the other players whether you should have passed or shot in various situations.